We doing everything they talk about. You know I'm everything a boss about. Not putting work and gotta toss them out. I'm really biting, they just barking out. I'm really riding, they just parking now. His street, what to talk about. See the big H when I'm walking out.
Hey, what's going on, everyone? Welcome to this episode of Base Coverage, presented to you by, of course, our partners over at Knoah Teamwear. I'm your host, Jamal Clay. And, of course, thank you. Appreciate all the support. Appreciate you guys coming back, watching the show, talk some ELF ball, getting involved in the comments section. I love, chopping it up with you guys a little bit. So don't forget to subscribe to the channel, drop a comment, share with a friend, and let's continue to talk this out as we head towards year 3 of the ELF. Today, I got a good topic. What I want to talk to you guys about today there are three teams that need to have a good season, but obviously, with the nature of the game, that may or may not happen. But these three teams not only need to have a good season, but they need to have a bounce back season. All right. I'm talking about the Leipzig Kings. I'm talking about the Cologne Centurions. I'm talking about the Knoah Panthers. These three teams, very similar, all been in the league since year 1. All three had disappointing seasons last year, somewhat of a quiet or interesting offseason thus far. But these three teams need to have a bounce back. I'm going to tell you who needs it the most. All right. So before we get into all that, here's a quick word from our partners over at Knoah Teamwear. All right. Welcome back, everyone. As I mentioned before, I want to talk about three teams that need to have a bounce back season, year 3 in the ELF. All right. The first team I want to talk to you guys about, Leipzig Kings. The Leipzig Kings. This was a team that almost made the playoffs in year 1, had an epic battle with Knoah battling out to the end. The Panthers end up winning that one to go on and play the Sea Devils in the first round of the playoffs. The Leipzig Kings, I see a team, an organization over the first 2 years of the ELF that has really struggled to find an identity of who they are, right? This was a team year 1, with a great quarterback in Michael Birdsong, who eventually gets hurt. They go on a long losing streak. He comes back and wills them almost to a playoff appearance, almost an MVP win for Michael Birdsong. He retires. Year 2, they build a great, let me rephrase that. Year 2, it looks like they're on the verge of building a great defense, signing a A.J. Whitland, bringing in a J.P. Bomback, signing in Mike Tavares, bringing back William James in the secondary, along with Henrique at corner as well. This was a team that I was a believer in, especially as a former defensive player, that could make changes. But ultimately, again, they struggled to find an identity. And one of the things that killed them last year was, not only just, their turnovers, but the time of the turnovers, the quarterback play, the injuries at the quarterback position, offensive line. You had guys like a Shantavius Jones and a Anthony Daboy-Wolf on the outside that could be receiver threats, but they really couldn't even get the ball to those guys. They go through 3 quarterbacks who you eventually get hurt, and they eventually ended up with a Gabe Cunningham at the end who finished out the season. They struggle with up front in terms of blocking. Also, they started the year with Dave McCants, one of the most well-known running backs in all of Europe, all of Germany. He ends up going a different direction after a couple games. And you think about like the Hamburg game where, I believe it was 14-13, but turnovers like killed them. So this is a team that really has struggled to find their identity. But now we're heading into year 3. So who are the Leipzig Kings? When I look at the Leipzig Kings, I look at a team that is bringing back some continuity on defense. Maybe not some of the big names, but again, we still got some familiar faces. Aslan Zettenberg, A.J. Whitland's back, William James is back. And then on offense, they're going in an interesting direction, the direction that's different from what most teams have done. They choose to go the quarterback, running back combination when it comes to American imports with Keontae Allen and running back Steve McShane, and also bringing in running back Maurice Baker, who I think the direction that they're going to want to go is kind of like a 1-2 punch at the running back position. When I look at this team, the area that these guys are going to struggle in, and similar to the Hell Valley guards going the same route, is they don't really have a true weapon at wide receiver, and they're really young at the wide receiver position. So who's going to be that guy? Who's going to be that dog? Who's going to be that alpha that's going to step up and make a play when it's needed? Because they're going to see 8, 9 man boxes and people are going to just stop the run, stop the zone read, wherever the identity is. They're going to force this team to beat them throwing the ball. So it's going to be curious to see how this Leipzig team plays out. But I see a team that had so much grit in year one and then so much disappointment in year two. Who are the Leipzig Kings going to be in year three? All right. Next, we have the Cologne Centurions. Man, you talk about a team that has been consistently inconsistent. And what do I mean by that? Their defense has been horrendous. Not year one, not year two. Both seasons, their defense has really been bad and really has been letting the team down in terms of not being able to, play good defense when it counts. When you look at the Cologne Centurions in year one, obviously they have the MVP of the season and Amadre London. And it was really a different style of offense. The offense really ran through the run game, so to say. No pun intended. And then year two, you don't have Madre, but you bring back Quentin Pounds, and now it's this air raid attack. And they were winning a lot of good games in the beginning. But the reason the team struggled is because there was no creativity, there was no build off plays. They became really predictable. And obviously, after that Barcelona game, the first matchup, it was just downhill from there. So the Cologne Centurions, it's interesting in terms of this team, you could say that they struggled to have an identity, but not really because once they found out who they were, they stuck with that, and that's what's led them to the playoffs in year one. And year two, obviously, injuries came along with it, but they struggled. They were too predictable in year two, and they struggled with depth. And again, defensive performance killed them in year two in the ELF. When I look at this team now, heading into year three. You know what? I'm not even gonna lie. I like the imports that they brought in. I like the mindset of the imports that they brought in. Obviously, Zachary Blair, one of the top linebackers who's been in the league since year one, came in a little late with the Stuttgart Surge, played in Istanbul, one of the bright spots in that defense and in the league. He's a guy that plays with a chip on his shoulder. You bring in Terrion Robinson. This guy's a beast in terms of you could see he's playing with that chip on his shoulder. He's a dog. He came in maybe halfway through year two and still almost had 1,000 yards receiving. Playing for the Istanbul Rams. And then they're bringing in cornerback Dejon Owens. Dejon Owens played at Stony Brook here in the States. And he's someone that is going to help bring that grit mentality, that play with that chip type of mentality on that defense. Now, they're really going to count on him and Zach to steer that whole mantra or steer that whole defense around. The thing that's killed the Cologne Centurions this offseason is they've lost a lot of depth, and in a league that's this long with this type of competition, you're going to need your depth, and they lost a lot of depth, not only to the Ryan Fire, but all over the league. So, I think this team is going to be interesting in the beginning, but how are they going to last throughout the season, especially with such a physical game? Also, do we know rumors have been circulating that, do rumors have been circulating that they might be in the market for another quarterback. Listen, there are rumors. All right. I'm not going to say it's true. It's something that I've been hearing through the grapevine that, they might be looking for another quarterback ever since the whole head coach fiasco started, which again, I mentioned before, I thought it was a bad look. Just you got this far and now disagreeing on a couple things. Maybe there's something else behind it. I don't know. But the Cologne Centurions, this is a team that has to get right. It's going to be an uphill battle. Not only is the league expanding, but you got a team in the Rhine Fire right in your territory that's not only not recruiting and winning those recruiting battles with you, but you're going to have to get things turned around so that you're not that team that's left behind when the league keeps going. So uh, Cologne's another team that needs to bounce back. They might have the hardest schedule in year three, but we'll see what happens with them. So lastly, the last team I want to talk about, the Russell Panthers. Year two, one of the most disappointing years the Russell Panthers could have put on tape. Here's why. Year one, your team makes the playoffs. You're one of the top teams in the league. A lot of great games, a lot of great performances. Obviously, we beat the Leipzig Kings. They head into the playoffs to eventually play the Hamburg Sea Devils, who go on to the championship. And then year two, you know, a lot of teams thought you were the team to beat. A lot of teams thought that you had a chance of winning a championship. A lot of teams thought that, you know, it had to go through Rustloff in terms of to get through the playoffs and to get to the championship. But the Panthers struggled, and one of the main areas that they struggled in was the health of their offensive line. They just could not get a run game. This is a team that was just beat up on the offensive line, and then you bring in Malik Stanley, who was 1,000-yard receiver, one of the bright spots and one of the contributors to that receiving corps. But you really don't have much of a run game. You lose your quarterback. You bring in another guy. Um, and to be honest, are the Panthers maybe getting a little up there in age, so to say? Because I feel like they have a good group and a good core group of guys, and you're representing Poland, and you should be able to pull from those markets. For example, just like the Seamen are doing with the Italian market. So they may have to get a little younger, but this team, for me, one of the most disappointing teams last year in the ELF. So with that being said, what does year three look like for the Russell Panthers? Well, you're bringing in some good guys. I like the Solomon Brown signing. I like the Brenton Martin signing. I think those are, I think he could have a Malik Stanley type of impact. A lot of people in ELF media, ELF metaverse, question the quarterback signing, the experience of the quarterback, and Nick Ringo. So we're gonna see who this guy is in terms of how he's able to perform. And a lot of people are applying a lot of pressure, but I'm sure he's not listening or hearing any of this. But we'll see what happens. You also have a new head coach and Coach Christensen as Coach Samuel now. He is in the front office of the Russell Panthers. Um, they have to get things turned around. And if you're asking me, out of all the three teams that I mentioned, the Panthers need to bounce back the most. You know, for a number of reasons. You're representing Poland, right? Just like the Helvetica represented Switzerland, the Seamen representing Italy, the Musketeers representing Paris. It's different in Germany where there's six teams, but when you're one team representing that one country, it should mean more in terms of playing in a league where it's the European League of Football. Number one. Number two. Um, I, I want to see more of the year one Panthers than the year two Panthers. Um, Obviously, we'll get an idea of who this team is, but the offensive line has to improve, and losing some guys in all season definitely hurt. Three, this team is going to go as far as quarterback Nick Ringo goes. This is a team that's had, I want to say, three or four quarterbacks in the first two seasons. Not really a lot of stability there, but I really want to see Nick Ringo and get to learn who he is, but also see him step up as well. This is a championship caliber team, and I think this team needs to bounce back the most. And we're going to get a chance to see who they are week one when they take on the Hamburg Sea Devils, which is going to be a great test because they're playing a defense that has been one of the top defenses in the league over the past two seasons. So if you're asking me who needs to step up the most, the Russell Panthers need to step up the most in year three. So that's it. That's all we have for today. Thank you guys for tuning in. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, drop a comment, Let's talk it out, man. I appreciate your support.